Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we get started, just wanted to mention a guest of ours who was on the podcast and somebody that I knew personally while he was in Istanbul, Jalal, who's the host of his own podcast, The Thinking Muslim. His wife just sadly passed away a few days ago. So yeah, I just wanted to ask everybody, to make dua. And if you're, I don't know, like by the time this episode comes out, maybe the janazah would already have been done. But look out for that, Yani, if it's not been done and try and attend it. It's in London. And yeah, make dua for her and make dua for his whole family. And yeah, it's kind of something. I don't know how to say it, but I have an affinity to this happening because I remember that she was diagnosed, I think, around similar time as my mom, you know, and it just happened that she's survived about a year longer than my mom, but they both had like stage four, which, yeah, and stage four usually means there's no recovering from it. It just means you could try and slow it down, kind of thing. So, alhamdulillah, and so
May Allah
I mean,
give him
yeah,
patience
I
as
mean,
well.
and I mean, yeah, and it's always, what I told him actually was I said it's a blessing to have that kind of countdown. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like. Like a friend of mine, he was living in Saudi and his dad was living in Dubai, and one day he just gets a phone call, his dad's gone. That I don't know. That would be
Mm.
like versus having 2 years, 3 years, kind of notice period, if you like. So that's a blessing at least. Yeah. Moving on to the topic of today's podcast, it's not like I said last episode. It's not such a positive one, so it kind of links up with that. But maybe you'll convince me otherwise. So, where are you right now, bro, in terms of AI? Okay, I know you use AI a lot. What are your thoughts on it overall in terms of it's been 2, 3 years now? We've been using it more and more. What's the end game? What do you think about? Has it changed society so far, or is it still at the early stages?
I was thinking about this a lot today, funnily enough. Um,
Hmm.
I've been using it almost every 2 hours, even at my day job and freelance, in calorie counting, in even like, so a friend of mine was bragging about how he uses it for um, like maybe therapy, but maybe therapy is too strong of a word, but just processing thoughts and emotions and decisions to make. And I've even dabbled in doing that now. That was just today I started doing that.
Hmm.
And I was quite shocked at how
Okay.
it allowed me to decompress my thoughts, I suppose, and
Hmm.
plan ahead and go. It's almost like journaling, but with a bit of a feedback element to it. Whilst journaling
Yeah.
sometimes can be a solitary experience, and it's only your own inspiration that's going, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's going to guide you to assessing your own journals and your thoughts and then making a decision based on that. But this is a good feedback element, a feedback tool that can process some things for
Hmm. Yeah, I'm probably in about the same kind of frequency as you. Like every 2 hours. I'm about every 2 hours kind of guy. Definitely not every
you.
two
Yeah.
days guy. When you say every two, you might think you're gonna say, yeah, every 2 days, but no, every 2 hours. Yes. Yeah, I use it every single day. I use it for I use it to replace Google fully, pretty much. I use it for a lot of work stuff. What do I use it work wise for exactly? A lot of brainstorming, a lot of ideas, a lot of, okay, these are my ideas so far. What haven't I thought of? A lot of getting feedback on some of my work. A lot of, okay, I admit, I do use it for some, like, for example, Instagram captions, maybe. I might use it for the structure of a YouTube script. I actually have a full workflow where I will. So Notion has you could just press like the microphone like dictation button and it will transcribe it really well. So in Notion, which is where I like organize my YouTube stuff, I'll just press that button and I'll just talk about a topic freely, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then I've got a prompt in ChatGPT where it will structure those thoughts into a YouTube script, right? So it's not writing the script for me. I'm giving it the input, but I'm just can't be bothered to structure it. You structure it for me. So I do use it for that. But I don't think I've ever. I know I have used it to fully write a whole script, but I didn't like how it turned out, so I didn't do that again. And then just bro, everything you could think of, bro. This is the car engine oil that the guy just put in my car. Like, is that the right oil for my car? Or like even you said calorie counting, yeah. I'm like, okay, I just ate yesterday, bro. I ate two. What was it? It was like 2 tablespoons of chia seeds after they've already expanded. But you're supposed to like measure it before they've expanded, before like they soaked up all the water. So I just asked it, okay, if I just had 2 spoons and it's already soaked thingy, then how many grams would it be before when it was dry? And it gives you. Now I don't take that as like 100% science, but it's just something where it's better than nothing, right? So yeah, everywhere you could possibly think of, bro. Today I was asking it if I was going to drive from Istanbul to Mecca, right? Would that work? Would there be issues with insurance, with getting through borders? And it's just like, yeah, it should be fine with this. You could do this. So everywhere possible, bro. I I think I'm not in the top 10% of users, but I'm in the out of the whole world, I'm in the top 10%, definitely. But out of those that use it, I'm probably in the top, I don't know, 20, 30%.
Yeah. I think you would underestimate how high. I consider my wife a casual user. She wants to get better. She wants to use it because she
Yeah.
sees me using it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of things that she doesn't even know that she can use it for. And I think that's just the trial and error that eventually comes with people using it too much. My concern is, I mean, I think everybody's
Mm.
kind of aware of what to use. Even, I mean, we could go on forever about different things. Like you said, I took a photo of my garden the other day, and I wanted some inspiration on what we could do to renovate it because we're in the process of renovating the garden. And with the calorie thing, it's like I take a photo. That's how I usually do it. I've got a preset instruction. I understand that it's an estimate and everything. I'll put how much something weighs, and I'll put the photo, and then it'll give me a bit of a rough estimate. Especially stuff that's like home cooked, and I'm not the one who prepared it, so I need to kind of guess based on what's on it. But lots of stuff, the car rigs as well. Like, God, it saved me. It saved me so much with the car. The wheel alignment, get the details to align it and all this stuff, and the instructions are in Japanese. So I uploaded a PDF, and I just basically got this full, like I've got an English version of the instructions just fully ready for me to kind of extract information from. Anyway,
Yeah.
endless. My issue is
Yeah.
so at work we communicate a lot with members of the public, with different departments, with all sorts of stuff. And although I'm aware of it existing, I've never really started using it in my day job till recently. And then I realized other people are using it with me. And it made me think about people that, like my friend who said he uses it for therapy, couples who use it to go through counseling. At what point does it take away from the individual who is you're communicating with? For example, I mean, let's take us two as an example. You send me a question about Mind Heist on WhatsApp. This issue's come up to ChatGPT because I've been doing that more and more with messages now, especially when I'm working with clients and stuff. I'm like, ChatGPT, what do you think is a good response? Oh, that's a great response. I take that, I tweak maybe 20% of it, I send that response back. 80% of that response has been AI, 20% has been me. You receive it, you do the exact same thing. 20% of your response is AI, 10% is you. And
Yeah.
at what interaction completely lost? And that also extends, sorry to go on, but it also extends into Islam, into our religiosity, into our practice of Islam. Because I'm Muslim now, and it knows what I want to avoid and what I want to, I mean? It started giving me a card earlier, just out of the blue. It's like, oh, I can tell this is really stressful for you. Whilst you wait for this thing, how about you recite this dua or whatever? And I don't know if it's an authentic dua or if it's just one that's made up. I was like, oh, that's a really beautiful dua. I'm going to use that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is really bad.
Bro, that is sick. Like, you could give it a custom instruction or whatever it's called, and you could say, whenever you give me an answer, remind me to like send salah on the Prophet sallallahu or something like that, and it would just do it.
Yeah,
That would be sick.
yeah.
Like the
I'm,
last
I'm,
week or two, they
I was,
pushed a certain update, like a personality or tone update, which made it kind of wacky. I don't know if you noticed that. And when it's giving me answers, it starts saying, "Mashallah, that's a
Yeah.
great start," and then it gives me like feedback and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely started like a bit too much. Uh, excuse my French, a bit too much ass kissing. I suppose that's the best way of putting it. It's just
Hmm.
turned into a bit more of a yes man, and I want a bit more criticism. But there are different instructions you can give it, and like I did one instruction without looking at it. Like I even asked it for instructions to give itself. It's crazy because I couldn't be bothered to think. So one of them, you
Yeah.
know, all the what you know about me so far, so that it can go across lots of different chats and stuff. But don't be too much of a yes man, essentially, because I've noticed like
Mm.
I'm rarely ever wrong, right? So I'll say something like web design. I'll use
Yeah.
it for web
Yeah.
design. I'll say something, and it'll be like, oh yeah, do this and this and this, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's right. And he goes, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's not right because but you just told me that it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's never certain of
Yeah.
itself
Yeah.
unless you are also certain. So it needs,
Yeah.
but there are ways like I've seen people use it where it's completely like cold and it executes just cold heartedly and it will rip into you if need be
Yeah.
and it just won't be agreeable. So you've got to kind of decide what you want to use it for. But as it is now, in its current
Yeah.
kind of default setting, most tasks is okay.
You went to school and you studied English, science, you studied maths. Then you went to university, studied engineering, economics, maybe computer science. But where along the line do you ever learn about how to be a man of character, how to be a man that takes action, how to have a resilient mindset, and to build yourself to become a man that you're proud of, especially the Islamic way? Because a lot of men, when they want to learn how should a man act in this situation, especially in 2025, they will either end up going left side to the feminism or right side to the red pill. Well, I wrote a book specifically that cuts through both of those, and it just goes to the source, to Islam, to show you how to be a man of character according to Islam. I've got a free chapter for you in the description. Click that link, check it out, and if you like it, you can get the whole book.
Yeah, yeah. I asked it the other day. I was like, you've got all these documents about my business. You know about my business. These are the specific marketing, methods I'm using. Be brutally honest and transparent, and tell me like what I'm missing. What am I doing wrong, right? And then, yeah, like you said, it was pretty good. But the reason I'm bringing this up, bro, is because I've actually come to a conclusion about AI and about like these large language models. Before, I was like, look, let's see, like the world's going this direction with or without me. Let's just see like where this goes. Now I'm like 90% sure that we're going to dystopia on a Ferrari. We're going full speed towards what is probably very negative in so many different ways. And I heard a lot of different like so-called experts discussing this, discussing the pros and cons, and there was always this, like a phenomenon in the, I don't know, 2010s onwards, is this heavy bias towards tech. Anything tech is amazing. We love, Zuckerberg. We love Elon Musk. We love these people. They're the tech, gods. They're like, wow, we love everything they do, right? Everything they put out, we lap it up. Look at Zuckerberg on his flipping wakeboard or whatever it is, and we just think he's cool because he brings us the tech that we enjoy, right? But it turns out that people are very biased and people speak with a lot of certainty, and really they don't have any certainty. They convince themselves, they're convinced of a certain point of view, but it's just an opinion, man. It's just an opinion. The guy, what's his name, man? Reed Hoffman, I think. He's the founder of LinkedIn, and he's like billionaire and all that. He wrote a book, I believe, about AI and about like the different arguments for and against it. And I heard one podcast where he was talking about it, and he's like basically trying to convince the host of how it's going to be amazing, it's going to be great. Have you heard like any of these arguments, like like when people push back on it, there are certain arguments that are repeated again and again. Have you heard those, like defending AI?
Yeah, I think it comes a lot from like big CEOs who know they're going to make a lot of money and cut a lot of costs. Those with a vested interest.
Yeah.
I don't see it becoming a net positive, unless, of course, it becomes like other big developments in tech where the golden age is the start, and then censorship and all these different rules and different checks and balances start kind of ruining it. Because right now it's a wild, wild west, really, in so much that you can do a lot with it. There are still limitations. I mean, there's going to be competing models. It could be like market models that are just content they can produce, explicit content, editing certain photos, generating certain images. There's always these checks and balances. Whereas someone could just take that. I still think it hasn't necessarily crossed into the accessibility of where it could really become super, super mainstream. However, anyone in a professional workspace has heard of it. Anyone who does a job. So, like, I don't know about the older generations that aren't really tech savvy. I know it's being incorporated into Apple and iPhone and stuff. Even I think yesterday the iPhone updated and it's got even more of a. I've got like an icon now where it immediately takes images that are linked to the Apple Intelligence ChatGPT powered thing, and it'll just give you information based on the image.
Mm.
People are scared, and it's those who are scared haven't tapped into it yet. And once they do, they can't live without it afterwards. There are people that are scared in terms of copyright, like a lot of see artists and creatives and intellectual property and all that stuff. There's a lot of people that defend intellectual property till the day they die, and artists are very protective over their art and stuff. And when they see all this AI being trained on their art for free, they get really angry. I see a lot of rage from artists and creatives that, that's an AI image and you should hire a real artist and blah, blah, blah. So in terms of criticism, there's a lot. In terms of defense, it's people that want to get the job done quickly and they don't really want to put the time, effort, work. But they also don't hiring line to be replaced, a lot of them, by the AI. I could be using it in my day job.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years' time, or maybe even less, they won't even need me anymore because the AI can just do all of it, Unless I'm physically lifting or carrying stuff or doing something with my hands, why do I need to exist if an AI can sort it out and have a daisy for?
Well, that's the question. Why do you need to exist? So let's dive into some of these, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing you mentioned was like the fact that, so you're saying like some of the models, like the censorship and there's controls around how you can use it. But from my understanding, the fact that DeepSeek made their model open source, right? Maybe, I don't know if Meta's is also open source. The fact that at least one of the companies has an open source model, halas, as far as I'm concerned, the cat is out of the bag, and it can be used just how. So it can be used in so many different ways, right? You could imagine it could help people come up with crazy next level propaganda campaigns or disinformation campaigns. That could be one element of it. But also it could be used to create biological weapons that not like you would need next level experts and scientists to come up with that, right? And you might need loads of like millions of dollars worth of equipment, and you need a whole lab and all of this. But with AI, maybe you could just come up with that, in your shed in whatever middle of whatever country, right?
Yeah.
So that, like, I just don't see an argument against that. Like, I understand that, you can't, like, this is a big argument the Americans make. Oh, if we don't make positive, amazing, perfect AI, right? Because we're American, everything we make is ethical and great. If we don't do that, then China's going to overtake us with their AI anyway. So we've got to catch up, right? But either way, whether it's American or Chinese AI, especially if there is some level of open source, halas, like people are going to use this to make deadly stuff. Just how, guns allowed people to just kill more people more easily, right? Versus a sword. AI is going to allow like bad people to kill more people more easily than guns as well, So I don't know. Is there any argument at all against that?
I mean, the cat's out of the bag now, and once that Pandora's box has been opened, so to speak, there's no putting it away, and everyone will make that argument. It's like, oh, they've got nukes, so we need to have nukes. We need to have a bigger nuke than they've got. This is probably, I would put this up there as one of the greatest, most impactful inventions of human history. It's like top 3 for me because of the potential.
Yeah, it's up there with
because
fire.
you've got Yeah, honestly, and I that might sound like an exaggeration to some. I think it's more long term in terms of impact. It's more devastating than nuclear weapons. More, I mean, it's reliant on like electricity and all that stuff, and without it, you're kind of screwed. And we saw what happened to Spain and Portugal this week or last week when they had a complete blackout, and that could just erase the capability. But once again, when you become so reliant on that, imagine what it's like when it's taken away. Imagine a company, a business, an individual imagine an individual that is, they are only surviving off AI. Like they could be that disabled and all their tech and everything that's powering them and everything that's keeping them alive is like AI powered, or got a medicine dispenser or got a communication tool, whatever it is, and then suddenly that switches off. I mean, the applications are endless. When you sit down and really think about it, I feel guilty for using it, but at the same time, I say to myself, if I don't use it, I will be left behind. And if I'm left behind, how do I provide for my family? Because that is the way it's going to go. In 20 years' time, if I'm still, working and active, it's going to be, if it is heading in this trajectory, it's going to be part and parcel of using your eyes and fingers. It's like those are the three things you need to work today. Because it will be. There is no two ways around it. I'm just trying to think. Like, we are in a bit of an AI craze in sense of like lots of things that don't necessarily always need it. I've introduced it. Sure, we're going to get like AI fridges and AI washing machines, and I mean, yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, WhatsApp's got an AI tool within the chat. You could be in a group chat. You just app the Meta AI and do a little search query or whatever it is in the chat.
I didn't know.
I don't necessarily use any other tools apart from ChatGPT, but yeah, it is on WhatsApp. We noticed that the other day. I can see like media obviously being 99% AI generated stuff. It's just it reminds me of that dead internet theory. Like, I think it will murder the internet fully, like completely kill it from any.
Yeah, tell us about dead internet theory.
Any human interaction. So I might butcher the theory, but from my memory, maybe we could use ChatGPT to get a summary. From my memory, it's essentially how, because of AI, you are essentially flooding the internet with bots. Really, that's the easiest way of putting it. But so many more bots, so many more AI generated personas than there are humans on the internet. Human activity on the more images, more AI images of cats are showing up than original photos or drawings or human made images of cats. And then apply that to tweets that you see. You cannot differentiate a real human being that's arguing with you on Twitter from an AI bot. You won't. There is no way of knowing unless there's a flag. But who's going to do that on Elon Musk's Twitter, right? Maybe the cat thing is a bad example, but I've heard there are examples of that kind of thing. So for a particular image, most of them that are getting picked up. Obviously Google and other image search tools are refreshing all the time. When it becomes an indoor image, at what point do you know whether you're pulling this or that? I want to see the Great Pyramids of Giza AI image, but you wouldn't even know. It's going to evaporate the internet and the lens that we use the internet for. We use the internet as a lens into the wider real world, but actually now the internet has just become this minefield, this matrix that doesn't exist. It's literally like the matrix is the computer now. Instead of it being a window to the world, it's actually just its own generated fake thing, right? And yeah, there was elements of that before, but it was always with a human hand that's altering it. Oh, this fake news article had a human hand writing it, so we know what their agenda is, because it's the human that wanted to sway the story in this particular way. But with purely AI generated stuff, I don't know what the agenda is, let alone if it, I don't really believe in AGI and all that stuff where they become completely independent sentient beings. But, obviously people have that fear as well. Yeah, I think, what's the word? It's going to be tailored like humans are now on social media. Look at them now. As soon as Elon Musk changed Twitter so that you can get paid for tweets, the inflammatory content, I think, has just risen. Grifting has gone through the roof. People are posting rage bait on purpose just to get an income. So if I'm in my head, I've got a system of AI bots, I'm thinking, hey, I could just make some money. Let me code all these AI bots to make as much rage bait content as possible, fake news as possible. and I just get paid. I put premium accounts on all of them, 10, 20 of them, 100 of them. What's stopping anyone from doing that? Any company, anyone with the manpower to do that? 10,000 Twitter bots for Israel, 50,000 for Israel, 100,000 AI bots for Israel tweeting under anything that is anti-Israeli, and also getting revenue, because when you tweet something inflammatory, you get money and whatever. And it's just that's the danger. That's what's happening.
Yeah, and dead internet theory, it existed. This is an oldish theory, because there were bots. There were always bots on social media platforms and stuff, or, obviously there were bots crawling the web in order to rank stuff for search and all of that. But it's just that what it used to be is the Israeli bots, for example, they would all be replying to tweets with the exact same text or whatever. But now what AI allows you to do is have novel, creative responses, unique responses for every single thing. And not to mention, the bots could come up with their own tweets as well, not just responses to stuff. And there's no reason you can't have, like you said,
each other.
100,000, 1 million. Yeah.
All the bots could know each other. So let's say you had 100,000 AI tools, okay? Each of the 100,000 has a persona. You activate a name. You're called Samantha, you're called Adam. You all have your own lives. You code them to have their own lives. You actually have a life that you present on Twitter. You generate images of your day. You have a consistent face that you use for all the images you generate. You have a schedule. You go to work at this time. You tweet at that time. You tweet about your day, and you're going to live for 80 years. And we're going to activate you, and that's your life. And you simulate a life. And your opinion was always going to be this, and you'll rarely ever sweat. Michael knows Sam, and Sam
I never
knows,
heard of that before.
Samantha.
What's that called?
But I'm not saying stopping ChatGPT chats, and every time I message you, this is what you say, and this is how you respond, because you are this person, and this is your life, and this is what you do every day, and this is your schedule. And every day, generate an image, a selfie that you post of you out on your day, doing something different every single time. Suddenly, you've got a real person that would be perceived online as a real person. Before, you'd go on a bot page, you'd be like, oh, what's all this nonsense? Clearly, it's a bot. Now you go on a page and think, oh, this person went to work today. They just bought a coffee today. They just read the newspaper today. Oh, they're excited for this upcoming thing today. That's a real person. But it's not. It's just a bot that I've coded to behave like a real person. And that's the danger. You've got an entirely a ghost entity that is, they all know each other.
Have you ever seen a lion in the zoo? That he's just got that look in his eyes that I'm not a threat to you. I'm domesticated. That might be what's happened to you. If you have big dreams or big goals in your life, but you've not taken action on them, you're procrastinating over it, then you want to check out my YouTube channel. All my videos there are to help people like you to break free from your procrastination, to start taking action on your goals and actually achieve more and more big things that you've been dreaming of for a long time. Look in the description. You'll find the link there, and check out the channel.
Check this out, Imagine I had a few $100 million to spare, and I spun up a kind of lab for this, right? And what I did was I made 1 million bots. I made 5 million bots, and all of these bots, they come from a country called, Czechoslovakia, right? A made-up country. But if there's enough people that are from that country, I promise you, especially Americans, they're going to start being convinced that country exists, right? Next thing you know there's a terrorist attack in Czechoslovakia, bro. And it's the Muslims again. You can imagine how far this can go, bro.
Yeah.
And like, when you try and validate or verify the news about this, like, where are you even going to go to verify it,
Well, yeah, the BBC plays a news story saying there's an AI-generated country, and it's and they're pretending there's a terrorist attack, and you're watching that, and you scroll down, and there's another AI-generated news station called FBC, and that one is saying, no, the BBC are lying, it's real, and they're
fake news,
policing, and they're run by mainstream media. No, it's real. And suddenly, you don't know if you're one person within 100 AI bots that are saying it's true, or one person amongst 100 real human beings that are saying it's false. You don't know who you're surrounded by. The only way to survive is switching your phone off and going out into the real world and talking to real people about your local issues.
Grass, bro.
It could end up going the other way. I mean, it could end up being such a Wild West dangerous place on the internet. It's much safer to not use it anymore. And everything becomes low net. So we all have our own networks locally. You know, my town has its own net that is really heavily censored and monitored, and that's the only place I can actually get real human information, because it's run by, I don't know, the local city council or something like that. And access to the real world, or the outside world, should I say, is just it's too dangerous. It's like back in the old days, venturing outside of your border of your town, outside of the castle gates, is just the wild, wild west. You don't know what to believe. If someone came up to you back in, the year, right, you step out, yes, take this left and you'll see a tree, and then behind the tree is a big boulder, turn right and there's a big oasis so you can drink. Do you trust that person, or are you going to get robbed by highway robbers on the other end of that path? That's essentially what the internet has become. It used to be a place where you could trust something. It's now reverted. Yeah, I think there is that chance. It could become a no man's land. You cannot access it. You will just never know, because it isn't just the elderly generation that are getting fooled now. And maybe I'm 32 almost. I consider myself quite young and capable of, tech savvy. I get fooled all the time, every day, with all sorts of stuff. So it could do that. It could just become such a horrible, maneuverable. I don't even know the word I'm trying to say, but you just can't navigate this space anymore. That actually is no point even using it.
Maybe a solution to this could be what's called blockchain, right? Because maybe blockchain could verify whether you're a real person or not. And I think the ironic or whatever thing is that Sam Altman has this project, which is a blockchain project called OneCoin or something, which is supposed to be used for that purpose, actually. So, you have all these bots, but the ones that are real humans and they're verified on the blockchain as being real humans, they got a little logo next to them showing they're humans. I don't know. Maybe that could be a solution. I don't know the technical part of it, but maybe.
I don't know. I mean, it's scary, and I think I don't know if its time is getting faster or if it's just really has rapidly accelerated. I mean, I'm feeling it because I'm using it all the time, and I'm using it more and more every day for things I didn't even think I would ever use it for. When my friend said to me that he's using it for, let's just call it therapy, I kind of scoffed at him. I must be honest. I scoffed. I was like, no, that sounds ridiculous. And he showed me some screenshots, and I was like, oh, it's just being a yes man to you, and it's not really going to process your stuff and all this stuff. And I thought I'd try it yesterday because I was really stressed out. I was like, oh my god. And now I'm just thinking, can I pull? Especially since the passing of my father, which I speak about all the time, I've lacked a father figure in my life. And I don't have any male go-to people that are older than me that I can rely on for ancient wisdom. The ancient wisdom of doing an oil change on your car, or the ancient wisdom of fixing a fence. Those kind of things that your dad would probably show you what to do, right? Actually, I'm asking it how to cook this thing, or I'm asking how to fix that, and I'm asking it because I've got that, space in my I've got that void, I suppose, which a lot of people will have, of having a mentor, and then suddenly this mentor is accessible 24/7, and it's cheap. Oh my god, is it cheap? £20 a month? It's insane. And don't let them hear this, but it should be way more than that. It should be way more than that for a lot of people.
I agree.
So I don't know. I think it probably will be one day. They're waiting until it becomes completely, fundamental to the livelihood of people, and then the tariffs.
I actually don't think that can happen because, like I said, when it's been made open source, like DeepSeek released theirs open source, you can actually, I don't know how to do it, but I could work it out if I really needed to, because let's be real, at this point we're addicted, right? So if OpenAI raised the price by 10x or whatever, we could get DeepSeek's one, and we could run it locally on our own computer, and then it's free. Obviously, it's free because the compute would be using your computer's CPU or GPU or whatever to run it, assuming your computer's powerful enough. It might be a bit slower, who knows, than ChatGPT, but you could run it locally, so you're not dependent. But like I said, again, that also means that anyone can have it. You can't cut anyone off from it. People with the worst intentions will have it, whether you like it or not. But let me ask you the big question, which is the main one maybe that people, mention about this, like the downsides, is jobs, right? And you kind of mentioned it already in terms of your job's going to go away. The counter to that people always say is, Haha, you're so dumb. You're just being emotional because when the steam engine was made, loads of jobs were made, right? Like, because we didn't need so many farmers, now we had tractors. All those people that used to be farmers, they went and they worked on the railroad. They started building the railroads because we needed loads of people to build rail tracks. And when the computer was created, all the people that used to be typists, they lost their jobs. But then guess what? They became, computer engineers and this and that and network technicians. So you're just stupid. And this is what everybody says about new technology is that it's going to displace those people. But what always happens is the people that lost their jobs, we just upskill them and we're going to create a whole new economy from AI. And those people can get those new jobs after we upskill them. So it's going to be a utopia, actually. And you actually would be able to work probably less hours, do less boring stuff, do more creative stuff that humans are the best at, and blah, blah, blah. And, you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain, yes, it will create new jobs, of course, but new jobs in the same field, new jobs in the same arena, new jobs that a lot of people that aren't skilled in them in the short term are going to be able to transfer to, move to, etc. In the long term, you'll say to your child, okay, at school, study this because this is the future and this is what you should study. It's like back when computers were the first hit the scene. When I was 6, my dad always said to me, "You need to learn computers." He put me on the computer at 6 years old because he thought this is going to be the future. I studied IT because he thought, "Yeah, this will be the future." Hey, look, I'm doing web design. The whole notion of like, oh, it's going to give everyone time to be creative and to be this and to be that. I think it's just going to make the rich richer and the poor poorer and keep people, make those silos wider and wider apart from people, because those that can leverage AI on a grand scale are going to be infinitely more capable of making money and multiplying their money than those that might not have access or those that can't fund the same level of access. I mean, think of what's his name? Steve Jobs, kind of, not Steve Jobs. What's the guy's name? The Amazon guy. That's the one. Jeff Bezos. Imagine that kind of money, but instead of the employees that he has now, he's got a billion AI bot employees that are just doing so many things. So many things, generating revenue in so many different ways because they're doing so many different tasks. It's like he's got bots making YouTube videos and bots making, mining for minerals in the Himalayas or something. I don't know. Going to space and mining meteorites, building rockets. Got whole bots that build rockets, and all they produce you with at the end. Forget all the engineering minds that you need. The AI is going to do that. All you need is the builders that are actually going to put this. So yeah, I think even at top level, like jobs were untouchable before, will be impacted. Like R&D departments. Okay, you've got, suppose with creativity, you can't create anything new per se with AI. It reminds me of the ayah in the Quran about trying to create the wing of a mosque as an example. You can't create something completely new that's never been created before. But you can copy and you can copy and you can borrow and copy and borrow from what's already existed, etc., etc. But even now, that's what humans have always been able to do. That's what humans only been able to do. That all is borrowing. Nothing's really new. Everything we've created is actually some sort of schematic that's been borrowed from nature, for example, and we've been inspired and we've remixed a bit. So we're competing with that. Really, we're competing with almost like a repository of all human knowledge that's online or that we feed it, that can run 24/7, that doesn't need to eat, sleep, or drink, and that can relay information with other versions of itself, and doesn't have mood swings, and doesn't get old, and is mature enough as soon as you activate it. You don't have to wait for it to grow. Like, just think about it. Think about that experience. It's crazy when you really deep it.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe I'm bigging it up more than it is at the moment, and it really is just a language learning model, large language model. They never say it's a big brain; they just say it's a language model, as if it's like some sort of interactive dictionary. But I feel like they're managing. What's the word? They're not trying to create a moral panic by calling it that. I think that's quite a tame name for it, a large language model. the reason they do that is to make it feel like it's just words. It's
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
that.
yeah. And,
You
and
know.
right now, it's like even when we're talking about the bots, it's like it's what's a bot doing? It's producing language, right? It's writing tweets or whatever, and it's posting those tweets. But there is a side of these. They're also called transformers, right? That's where GPT comes from. There's a side to them which does stuff that is not producing language, right? Like sequencing DNA or something, or all this stuff that I don't understand, right? Biology related stuff, understanding what was it, like strains of proteins or something mad, bro. It's all this biological, medical stuff that is not necessarily about producing language. It does stuff like this. Okay, I just thought of an example. So let's say you get you have a disease, okay, and then instead of getting what you think might kill that disease, like a potential medicine or whatever, so you make that medicine and then you put it next to the disease and see what happens. Okay, nothing happened. Okay, let's get a slight variation of that, and let's put it next to the disease. Oh, did it kill it? Oh no, it didn't. And you got to do that maybe many times until it works. The AI can, especially if it has a lot of power behind it. I think there's people mentioned this with regards to quantum computing, which could really give this a boost. What it can do is it could, in parallel, it could do those experiments in a virtual space. Like you give it the what's called laws of nature, you could say, and then you say, okay, run 1 million of those experiments in not in sequence, in parallel. Yeah, in parallel. So, and because of the massive power it has, maybe with a quantum computer, it's done that in a week, and that might take 100,000 years to do it in sequence. You know, so these are the kind of things that AI can do, which is not just producing language. Yes, and also it could also it can detect patterns, again, not even patterns in language, patterns in, like there was this mad thing that was going around about like the Arab Spring. It's like you could tell the Arab Spring was going to kick off because from satellite images you could see that the vegetation was going down and the aridity was going up. And when that happens, if you look over 1,000 years, whenever that happens, it will result in a revolution and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah,
So again, that's like computer vision,
yeah,
right? Which is understanding images, but then you layer that on top of that, the pattern recognition. So it can do a lot more than just produce language. But with the jobs thing, bro, I think that a very let's take a real example. People say if you have 10 software engineers in your software company, and now one of them can do the work of 10. What are you going to do? You're not going to fire those 9 engineers. You're going to get each one of those 9 to do the job of 10, right, using AI. And so it's like you've got 90. So imagine how many more features you can add to your software and how much you can develop it. But honestly, like there isn't that much to do. I think maybe at the beginning, that's like the what's it called, the easy pickings or whatever, low hanging fruit. Yes, that could apply. But in reality, it's like my company only needs 2 accountants, bro. Like I've got 2 accountants, and now with AI, I only need like half an accountant. So I'm just gonna fire one. The other one, I'll ask them if they want to go part time. If they don't want to go part time,
yeah,
I'll fire them, and I'll find someone who'll do a part time. And simple as that. Another way to look at it, I was thinking like, how do
yeah,
we break this
yeah.
jobs thing down to? Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll get onto that.
So, oh, sorry. The only limiting factor right now is just interfacing between different platforms. That's the only thing AI can't do very well. Like it's siloed into one area. For example, let's say web design. I'm using ChatGPT, sending it screenshots of what I'm stuck at. It's giving me the answer, and then I'm going to repeat those instructions on the platform. However, once you've got cross-body do what it needs to do on my computer, then suddenly it's just its own thing. And I know that there's an AI race in the sense that everyone's trying to make their own AI. Meta's got one, this has got one, but I think eventually there's just going to be like one or two across the board that interface with each other. Once like Apple is now working with ChatGPT. Okay, what else wants to incorporate ChatGPT in their system? What else? It's like phones, like it's like Apple or Samsung, Apple or Android now. That's all that kind of exists. But back in the early days, there was all sorts of different ones cropping up, right? So I think once it boils down to just the one or two, that kind of monopoly, that one or two are going to be everywhere and interfacing with every. It's like the middle man that you need. The AI can do the calculations, but it can't necessarily submit all that tax info to the government and fill out all that side of things and make sure. But once you've got an AI tool that just interfaces with that, that's gone. But then vice versa. What if you've got AI tools in your bank account and your the government is just like assessing your bank account with AI. It just knows everything about you straight away. That kind of thing. That's another story for another day. But yeah, it's the middlemen that it can't really eliminate just yet, because we're taking the end result, the calculation that the AI is giving us, and either placing it or using it or following those instructions on a different platform. And once it can do that, make that jump from platform to platform, from place to place, that's when really we're going to eliminate a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as I understand, that's already on the way, because like OpenAI has something called Operator, which can basically use the web, right? And there's also, I think, a Chinese one called Manus, which is an agent. They call them agents, I think, which, yeah, basically uses the internet. It's got its own mouse and it understands the interface of all different websites, and it can do that. Now, that's not the most efficient way of doing it, but it can do everything as far as I understand. But a more efficient way for some tasks would be more like an API, an API which connects one software to another or whatever. They've got a protocol which it's like an API but for AI, which is called MCP, which is like a unified protocol that a lot of them are adopting. So that is fully on the way, man. That is fully on the way, and yeah, and a lot of these things that you think AI can't do right now, like definitely that we're only 2-3 years into this, and it's very soon coming, right? But yeah, to break things down into like their first principles. One principle in general is that everyone is always seeking to do things more efficiently. Whether you're a worker, you want to do things more efficiently in your job, or even you're making a sandwich, you want to do it the most efficient way. And companies want to do everything more efficiently to save money, right? So as a company, because companies do drive a lot of like behaviors and stuff. As a company, I just want more efficiency, right? I don't really care whether it comes from a human, a robot, an AI, a computer, whatever. So that's one thing. Like they're incentivized to do things more efficiently and save money, etc. On the flip side, not the flip side, but on the other side, what has happened when we got a new tool or a new technology that allowed humans to do something more efficiently, then people might not do it anymore, right? So like first, it was the man guiding the cow to till the field. Then it was a tractor that could till the field, but the man still needs to drive the tractor. Now the tractor can drive itself, right? So now the man has been removed because the man is not needed. So now the man needs to elevate, you could say, to do something that the machine can't do. So then he goes and becomes an accountant. Let's say a machine can't do that. But then when the machine can do accountancy, where does he needs to go now to the next level of, okay, now what can't a machine do? So it's always just going up a level till you reach a place where machines can't do it. The thing though with this technology is it seems it could do a ton of a lot of the things that we do. And not to mention that, okay, a robot can't, like there's no robots that can be a plumber right now, but AI might be able to go and design the technology that would make the robot that could be your plumber, right? It would accelerate the development of that. So the question is the place where we would maybe find a safe haven is the things that a machine, like either a physical robot or an AI, whatever model, cannot do. Just simply, there's a hard stop. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that border is, but I think the border is very, very high up the chain.
Yeah. You said about the plumber, that's a good example, because even the plumber gets eliminated because his clients are now fixing things themselves because they have the know-how that they didn't necessarily have before because of AI. I fixed my car instead of taking it to the mechanic because I could have the instructions for my specific car, the specific issues I have, very, very, evidently so. And one step of the way, you're taking photos or recording or whatever it might be. Imagine you've got a video running and you have a live stream feed. into an AI bot that can talk to you whilst you're doing something, as opposed to you stopping every second and uploading a photo. Like, that's the future of this, and it could probably come next year, of it just analyzing your feed, the frames that are coming in as they come in. It's communicating, it's assessing. It's okay. Yep, you've taken that brake pedal off. Okay, buff it down, put this oil on it. Okay, that's all right. That looks good. Show it to me. Show it to the AI bot. Yep, that looks great. Or, oh no, you've missed this spot. Can you do this spot? Whatever. I don't know. Like, it's like your mechanic at home, and you can do it 24/7. 24/7 days of the year. So yeah, there's always going to be people at this current stage that are still going to need physical labor and the tools, etc. But it's shrinking. I think it is going to have a dent on that. And like you said, the cow, for example, the cow's no longer tilling the field because the machine is now tilling the field. But then he doesn't need to be driven anymore. So the farmer goes in to cook dinner, and there's a robot cooking his dinner. And then he goes, oh, let me go get groceries. But there's a robot delivering his groceries. And it's like, oh well, the toilet is blocked. Let me fix that. Oh, there's a robot. I'm blocking his toilet. It's like, what? Everywhere you turn, we are still very far away from like robots that are trying to emulate human behavior and walking and gripping and carrying and stuff. Those haven't advanced as far as AI. No doubt about it. And I don't think they ever will. I think unless you're going to make organic droids, which are essentially just clones of humans with an AI chip in their brain. God, don't give them ideas, because that could actually happen, couldn't it? Like, instead of a soul, they have a chip, and it's a ChatGPT chip in their brain. It sends like electrical signal. Bro, could you imagine that? Pause on this. You grow a baby, you own someone, but you don't have a brain. They just have a chip, like an Elon Musk chip, and it just sends electrical signals to parts of the body based on the knowledge of electrical signals in the human nervous system. And then you've just got this soulless...
I mean, it sounds exactly like that movie. What's that movie called?
I'm sure there's loads of movies like that.
The one, the something 2049 or something.
Oh,
yeah, Blade Runner.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it, isn't it?
But the only reason they don't clone people is because of checks and balances. So obviously there might be more to it than that, but that's what they tell us. That's what they tell us, don't they? That it's, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not allowed that to happen. Maybe they just can't get it right. Those people in the black market, they're trying to clone humans. But if they do, and we get AI chips, and they're going off on a tangent.
Bro, I actually think, like, I'm actually confident in saying that 90% of jobs are going to go away. I don't know when, but let's say next 50 years, like 90%. And the 10% that's left, I don't really even know what that would be. Maybe it's just like making strategic decisions, or I don't even know what. But is there any argument against that, bro? That like 90% of jobs are going away?
I think they'll go away, and those left over will all it will streamline jobs towards the tech sector of building AI tools and like furthering AI. Like, I used to work in, roadworks, but now I work in the computing AI sector of the roadworks industry, and I build computers that do that, or I build AI bots that do that. Like, these people will transfer to the AI department of that particular industry, as opposed to
I understand 10% of people doing that, but I don't understand the other 90% finding enough jobs to do that. Because
that's it.
What are you offering as a human that AI can't offer?
Well, my concern is that those people that become jobless no longer have the money to actually buy the products that AI is producing. Whether it's entertainment, or whether it's tools, or whether it's anything, any services.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, suddenly you've got unemployed and millions of unemployed people that can't afford the non-essential things that AI is producing. Like, what are the essentials that humans need? They need a roof over their head. Well, AI doesn't need to be there to keep the roof on my head. It needs food in my belly. Well, AI isn't necessarily selling. I mean, it might play a part in some sort of process of growing food, etc. But I don't need it. Like, me picking up an apple and eating AI needs to be in. Making clothes, maybe, but actually putting on the clothes, that's the essential part. It needs to be part of it. So if I was to live a non-internet life and the bare minimum, and the government is paying me 100% welfare to survive because I'm a human being and I have human rights, AI doesn't fit there. anything that I would have as extra, that non-essential, that I want to watch something, that is, AI was part of that. I need this particular service, or AI is part of that. Suddenly there's not enough consumers to consume the things AI is creating because there's no money going around. So AI is soaking up in it. It's going
Yeah.
to make more waste.
Yes, I see that,
In
but I
the
don't think
West.
people think that far ahead. Like the equivalent of Sam Altman or whoever is going to own, this massive company or two that ends up running this whole show. I don't think they are going to, yani, obviously, if Allah wills, they'll impoverish billions of people, and they will end up having all the capital because everyone's paying them because they end up running so many essential things. And because they are getting enriched, they buy all the assets, right? You can't afford stuff, therefore you're willing to sell all your stuff, and you're willing to sell it for cheap. They will have all the capital, so they'll buy it, and they will own you, and you will be happy.
So far that actually, this is going to sound really childish, so bear with me. But
Okay.
okay, maybe it will never happen. But interplanetary species, because tech has advanced so much because of AI, that then we're not just limited to mining this world. Then you can mine the moon and mine Mars and go there and suddenly, wait, you've got a whole universe that humans need to be there for, to experience, because AI doesn't have the knowledge of that. AI doesn't have the physical knowledge of being in that location or dealing with that. Or just I'm trying to front
I
lines
mean, I get that, but you
obviously,
still need to give me something that humans can do that AI or robots can't do.
what I'm saying is the people who create this sort of stuff. That's their vision, by the way, of the future. Like Elon Musk talks about being
Yeah,
interplanetary
probably.
species. He's got Grok. A lot of these tech guys, that's what they grew up on. That's kind of their aspiration. Is like, this stuff, this AI thing, is going to be the spark that ignites us into the universe. Suddenly, human beings are going to be across the universe, and it's going to be like a big space opera, like Star Wars, in a million years, where there's going to be so many colonies and human beings in different parts of the world and this different part of the galaxy, and blah blah blah, and it's all powered by AI. And suddenly humans aren't limited, and because they're not limited, then yes, we can have as many kids as possible. We can populate this planet and that planet, and there's going to be work for everyone, because there's always going to be somewhere that needs work in the whole galaxy. It's way more than just little old Earth, and Earth will just be like a dumping ground where we started, and it's just like barren, and only poor people live there now, and they're eating each other because I don't know, very dystopian. But that's kind of what that's their perspective. That's their perspective of the future, and that's where
Yeah,
they want to
and
head.
they're right though, because their perspective is based on what the role that they are playing, and the role they are playing is the overlord. The role they're playing is they will own everything, and therefore it will be a utopia for them. But for 90% of the rest of us, I'm not seeing a way where it kind of works out for everyone. I'm not seeing the utopia for everybody. And I'm not actually like set on this. I'm not like, Luddite or whatever. I love AI, but I'm just like, when I look at it objectively, I can't think
Well,
something that's absolutely definitely, certainly sure that an AI can't do it and that you need a human for that in the next, let's say, 50 years or 100 years. I can't really think of it. I'm sure maybe it exists, but I can't really think of it.
if you've got that notion of
Yeah.
actually maybe the robots will never become the robots we become into. I don't know if you ever seen Severance TV show? You might
No,
have
I've
heard
not
of it.
seen Severance.
The concept of severance is, instead of you are severed mentally when you go into work, so your work self does not know what's going on the outside world, and you don't have to experience work, because you essentially, it's almost like you go to sleep, but your second persona is at work. Suddenly it creates two versions of you, one at work and one outside, the innie and the outie. The innie doesn't know what goes on in the
Very
outside world, the
clever.
outie doesn't know what goes on in the inside world. It's very interesting. It's actually a crazy thought process, a thought experiment when you think about it, and when you watch it, it's crazy because obviously things come up. But there's that element as well. There's that element of like, I could just switch off and pilot when I'm working. If you had that kind of control stuff with, I just takes over. It's like
Yeah.
co-pilot mode, right?
Mm.
But I was gonna. The thing is, I mean, we could go on about that for a while. My concern, which we haven't touched on at all, I don't think, is how this affects Muslims and Islam and their understanding of Islam and their and the seeking knowledge and the fatwa shopping and the like. There's a whole discussion to be had there. Maybe we could do that as a part two, or we could get into it a bit now, because, like I said, the temptation has been there for me because it's throwing these things at me. It's like, oh, you should have some more patience, Muhammad. Here's a reminder. I didn't ask you for the reminder; just giving them to me. And I'm thinking, is that true? And I'll have to look it up. There was a bit of a thing I saw a few weeks ago. I remember it was a charity or some sort of, it was the council, British Muslim Council or something like that. I could be butchering it. It might not be them, but I'm sure it was.
Muslim Council.
They put out a statement. Yeah, they put out a statement for some sort of incident that happened, and I think they put out, and the A didn't even exist, and then because it didn't exist, people quickly realized the whole thing was written by AI, and they like, I think they fixed it and they blamed it on someone or something, whatever, I can't remember. But then it just made me think,
That's
like,
insane. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, how it could have been. I'm 80% sure it was them, but it could have been some other organization. But that's essentially the story. But like, how many people now, right now, this second, are speaking without knowledge, let alone when AI gives everybody the,
Yeah, that's true. I think we should do a part two on that. But maybe there's one last point we could cover just in this kind of section of it, the doom and gloom section of this topic, which is it making you dumb?
Me specifically, I think on one hand, as it is now, it's actually got me into writing again in a weird way, and I'll tell you why. Initially, I was it was because I was fast track talking about yourself and what your thoughts are and trying to express your thoughts. Remember the journaling thing? Like, I didn't journal before because there was no feedback loop. I tried it once for a few weeks, a month, whatever, and I just stopped doing it. But now, like, I'm finding myself writing a lot more to it because it can accept all that information. I can give it 4 pages of my thoughts, and I can process that. And then also, if I give it something that I want it to kind of proofread, I'll read that thing that it proofreads, and I'll read what it feeds back to me. So I'm reading more, and because I'm reading more, I'm more next time. I'm more, I could use it. If you want to learn from it, then you can learn from it. If you want it to take everything and take the reins, then it will take the reins. If you want it to increase you, it will increase you. If you want it to reduce from you, it will reduce from you. So how do you use it? I'm a bit here and there. There are some things where it would take me 20 minutes to do this, but it'd take me 5 seconds to do it, like on ChatGPT. Okay, I've missed out on the experience and the learning of doing that myself. But at the same time, like, let's say the web design thing, I've learned so much more about web design because I've got a co-pilot, a mentor teaching me that now when I can hear my kids, so I don't know if they're going to barge in, a design kind of plan, a schematic I want to kind of recreate or create on Webflow. It's like, okay, the first time round, I got it to walk me through it step by step. The second time round, third time round, I've uploaded it just for the sake of it knowing what I'm doing. And then I've gone and made it all myself because I remembered everything it told me before. And then I've realized, I didn't even follow any instructions because I just learned how to do it. So it has taught me a lot of things. It's taught me more about my car. It's taught me more about cooking. It's taught me more about gardening. It's taught me things, and I'm actively learning and using those things. And because it's still in its clunky phase, I've opened my phone, or the chat is loading a bit slowly or whatever. I'm finding barriers that are not making me use it all the time. I might use it for the first time I do something, or the second time I do something, but by the third or fourth time, I've learned that already. I know what I'm doing now. So yeah, it's this and that. But what about you?
I would say that it's making me dumb. It's making us all dumb, and it will make us dumb. But what is the definition of dumb? Because you mentioned a few things where it's like making you smarter, but that's true, and I agree. Like, apparently I know a lot more things now, right? Since I've been using it a lot. I know how to, like, fix my car, fix my radiator. Wow, genius, bro. But all that stuff is information. So the information, or you could call it data, that we have has increased. So we're smarter in that way. But the thing that I would argue actually makes us smart or not smart is the ability to think, the critical thinking, the methodology of how you come to conclusions, how you argue a point or defend a point. That is the part where I think we're getting dumber. If we go down the route of outsourcing that to the AI, right? And like for sure. And I debated this with somebody, and I was like defending like AI and using AI. I debated it, but the debate lasted, bro, like 20 minutes, and I was like convinced. And I don't get convinced very easily, right? I was convinced that yes, if I keep like really leaning on it for these things which require critical thinking, making decisions, judging whether something is good or bad, I will basically lose that muscle that I've spent my whole life building up, which is my brain. And it is a muscle. It is something that if you don't use it, you lose it. And I believe like whatever they're called, neurologists or whatever, they all agree on this fact that it's something that if you don't use it, you will lose it. So that's why, for example, now I would be like, instead of going to ChatGPT and saying, give me 10, like, all about my business and all that, give me 10 YouTube ideas. I try to stop myself before that, and I try to think myself what those ideas would be. And then I'll be like, okay, these are my ideas. Give me some more. What do you think? Then I will go through the whole list, what I got and what it gave me, and I will like make a judgment. And I just do that to make sure I'm still in the loop. I'm still in the thinking process. I'm still thinking for myself. And I don't know how long that will last because convenience often always wins. It often always like takes over. But
Yeah.
that's also like the risk with this stuff is that it's very easy. But what I think about, bro, the most, and what came up a lot in this kind of debate was what about people not like me and you who went to school and were like 30 years, we've been thinking and learning and developing our critical thinking skills for 30 years. What about our kids right now who actually never,
Yeah.
ever developed critical thinking skills in the first place? Those people, bro, they might as well, they're like, mentally, they're pretty much in wheelchairs if they lean on ChatGPT or AI.
Think of, yeah, like look, I mean, look how easy it is to do complex maths on ChatGPT, or education system, for example, has just been obliterated. I don't know how they're handling it. The job market, trying to hire someone is insanely tough, and it's only going to get harder. Um, I think I said the story about when I was trying to hire someone and they used ChatGPT for their whole application.
Yeah, yeah,
And then when
yeah.
I actually interviewed them, they didn't know anything. They didn't know anything at all. So yeah, for our kids, I don't know how they're going to do it. Do they teach like the you can't teach them with ChatGPT because they won't learn anything, but you can't not teach them ChatGPT because then they won't be well equipped. You'd think it's, and then this is where you kind of need governments and authorities to step in. But we've got a very anti-establishment population that doesn't want any government involvement, even though sometimes it's necessary. Times like this is necessary. It's
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I mean,
I
but
don't know
I
if the
think you're
government could
right.
do much, but I think with my kids, like I'm gonna like, bro, my son, mashallah, like he's just got a thing with maths. So he's 5 years old and he's learning long division. Okay, mashallah, and I'm like, I'm keeping him far away from ChatGPT because I'm like, it's not about getting, everyone knows this, right? When you're doing maths, it's show me your workings. How did you get to that answer? I don't care if the answer was correct. Show me that you know the method, right? And the same applies
Yeah,
to writing an essay. Don't give me a sick essay. I want you to understand why that is a good essay and why you structured the argument like that and how you verified the sources. That is actually the point of education, not getting a grade, not submitting 1,000 words, not submitting 10,000 words. It's actually about the process you go through, right? And I always talk about when I learned French, the reason that, alhamdulillah, my French was sick just from going to school, year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, 6 years, I became like native speaker pretty much. It's because my teacher was like, okay, today we're learning the past tense, blah, 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 blah. This is the past tense. Now you're going to write 100 sentences. And that was the process, like just by doing it and doing it and doing it. That's how I learned the past tense very,
yeah,
very well. Right. Now, what if I said, ChatGPT, write me 100 sentences with the past tense? How long's my brain's gone in that case? You see?
yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. I don't envy that generation growing up in this. Like, I didn't have anything
100%.
like that. We had a calculator, but even a calculator, you have to know how to use it quite well. to kind of do a lot of the equations, but you didn't have it with you in the class. You didn't have it with you. Like, we didn't really grow up with, I suppose we had our phones, kind of, but we didn't really grow up with phones when I was young. I only got them by college time that I really start having smartphones and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think, man. But then again, like you said, the world needs AI users in the future for them when they're adults, is people that have grown up using it, and people that can, then how do you code it? Oh, but you code it with AI. You build more AI with AI. You ask AI what its limitations are, and then you tell it to build on those limitations. And I don't know what the world's going to look like for them when everyone is using it.
Exactly. You don't know what it would look like, but what you do know is that, let's say, like for our kids, what you do know is that you want kids who have critical thinking, who can question things, who can think for themselves. You know you want that in your kids. Even if, bro, they're jobless or they're building the next AI, whatever technology.
Yeah.
Either way, you want them to have those skills. And so that's why I would say, like, our kids could use a ChatGPT for stuff like Google, finding facts and information. That's fine. But when it comes to the thinking process, that's, for me, like, I think that's a red line. I think it's an easy red line to draw.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just how do you test for that? They're struggling with that now. The tools that test for AI use aren't very reliable at all. So how do you know that this piece of work that someone submitted is their piece of work and not someone else's, or the AI's, or whatever?
Yeah.
You used to have to sit there.
Yeah.
I suppose you sit back to pen and paper in person. That's because
I don't think that's
like that
at all. Like, my sister works in academia and like teaching, and she's shocked. Like, she's like, they are fully on board with it. They're like, actually, this can help, and they can use it, and it'll make them even better and even more creative. So they're not even, at least to those people that she was talking about, they're not fighting back hardcore. And I don't think we can fight back hardcore, but it makes people question, what is the purpose of education in the first place? Because far too many people have been thinking of education purely as a way of getting a job. But now it comes to the point of like, okay, like, let's question, like, why are we going uni?
Yeah, true. Maybe, I mean, it could be the springboard that a lot of the more what's the best way of putting it? Less developed countries, a springboard for them to get to where they need to go, because I don't know. Maybe I'm stabbing in the dark here. I'm trying to think how it would affect those populations, but they also have access to it quite evidently. I see ChatGPT memes in Tunisian Facebook pages all the time, and the majority of Tunisians might not have, the access to things that you think they have access to. But it's like how they got mobile telephones so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, they like live. Some people in the middle of nowhere might live in a mud hut, but they've got an iPhone, because the jump was it skipped so many steps to get to that. And it became so accessible. You can just download Cello suddenly. Use fire.
Wizard, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're gonna like burn you at the stake for that.
Yeah, imagine ChatGPT in Amazon rainforest with some uncontacted tribe. I blow their minds. Aliens just land in a box. Like this. Just airdrop one of these with ChatGPT activated, the voice one. It'll probably just analyze their speech patterns and be like,
yeah.
Bro, what about?
No, I think those people that live in those like cheaper kind of countries, they would they might have an advantage in terms of, okay, the company in the US who's hiring Americans who are using AI, why don't I just hire people in Uganda to use AI when they're going to do just as well a job, because it's AI in the end, and AI gets rid of the language barrier and stuff. But that's only a short-term thing. Like, that might only last 5-10 years. After that, everyone becomes equally, useless.
I saw something I forgot to mention. It was a while ago, so I don't know what the update is, but I saw that they were using AI to decode the speech of birds and how birds communicate and what they're saying, and then literally translate that to human language. And then I started thinking, that's like, in my head, that's pretty possible with AI. Like, I don't see why it couldn't analyze the behavior of animals and the
Well, it's just
noises
pattern
they
recognition.
make. Yeah, pattern recognition in certain situations, and then suddenly we slap a voice box on an animal like that. Or is it Up? There's Up, isn't there? It's a Disney. Is it Disney? It's a Disney show. And the dogs have got these collars, and it translates their barks into speech. And I thought, wow, we're going to talk to
Yeah.
animals, baby. Probably could.
Well,
Probably
this is
could.
Sulaiman alayhi salam coming
That's what I'm
around.
thinking. Well,
It's
I
crazy.
think part 2 would
It's
be good,
crazy.
inshallah. I think I'd really want to get into the sort of Islamic side of things. I think it'd be good to
Oh, for
maybe
sure.
if we find someone, maybe like would be a good someone to bring on, like an imam or a khatib, because I'm sure they know people who have used stuff. They've probably used it themselves, and they could probably be more aware. Like, alhamdulillah, Islam is to learn to gain knowledge, really gain it, and to embark on it is a lot of memorization. You need to memorize the Quran. No AI is going to memorize it for you. You know, memorizing a hadith, no AI is going to memorize it for you. Reading books, no one's going to read. No AI is going to read those books for you. It's still always mostly going to be a tool at this stage, a tool that is used to get you to the fountain, but you're the one who has to drink it. It'll get you there quicker, but you have to drink it. But as far as imparting that knowledge to others, that's where it can be a bit of a, hey, I've written a huge book, and that book behind you, you write that all yourself, a GPT book, or that's probably the
It's
last
free,
Islamic
bro. It's a
book.
classic.
It's the kind of it's the last unadulterated book you'll ever write, because anything you write after that, you know, it's going through. It's going through. You should write first
100%.
edition, pure edition.
100%.
You rewrite that book, you write anything, you know the
Pure.
temptation. It's going to do a second edition, and
AI.
it's going to be so problematic.
Crazy.
Yeah, man.
Crazy. Okay, bro.
All
Jazakallah
right, bro.
khair. Anyone have, their own input? Then throw it in the whatever Telegram group, throw it in the comments on YouTube, and we'll probably address it next episode, inshallah. All right. Subhanallah.